Thanks for tuning in to the Second Look podcast. You're listening to a narrated essay from Upon Further Examination at kielharvey.substack.com. This is Drowning in Communication, Thirsting for Clarity, Why More Meetings Can't Build Shared Purpose. Written and narrated by me, Kiel Harvey. My friend, an executive at a large company, sat across from me at lunch, holding up his iPhone. On the screen was his weekly calendar showing every day blocked, hour after hour, with Teams meetings. He palmed his forehead in frustration, bemoaning his jam-packed calendar. How many of these are regulars, I asked. Every single one. Okay, not all, but 90% at least. What are they all for, I asked. I don't even know, man. I'm not sure anyone else could tell you either, he said. Communication is at an all-time high. Clarity is not. Every recurring meeting out there starts with a desire or need for one thing: communication. Today we have a contagion of constant communication. Cell phones, text messages, email, social media, MS Teams, project management tools, on and on and on. We work at these communication channels like it's our job. Then, on top of that, we have meetings. We gripe about meetings that should have been an email, and then gripe about all the emails. We attend virtual meetings and half listen while we respond to messages on other channels. Why? In part, this hyper level of communication has just become the norm. It's expected. It's common. It's how a lot of organizations have come to operate. Since early 2020, the average worker sits in roughly 3 times as many digital meetings as before. The calendar never recovered. Let me ask you this. What percentage of your meetings exist because, despite all the meetings and all the messages, no one seems to know what's going on or what they're supposed to do? If you're honest, the number isn't small. So here's the uncomfortable conclusion. We are saturated with communication, but starving for clarity. Consider another trend. Real connection with people you work with seems to thin out a little more every year. Here's the part we don't like to say out loud. The meetings are not the disease. They are the prosthetic. A high-performing team runs on something invisible. People hate that totally non-quantifiable truth, but nevertheless, it is true. Call it shared context. You know how your colleagues think. You know what they're good at and what they are already carrying, what they would do if you weren't in the room. When a team has that, it needs very little explicit communication to stay aligned. Most of the alignment already lives in the relationships. Take that away, and the alignment has to come from somewhere else. So it comes from a meeting, then another meeting, then a Teams thread on top of the meeting, and an email to confirm the thread. All that communication is not a sign of a connected organization. It's a prosthetic worn by a disconnected team to keep walking. And here's the part I won't dress up. This did not happen to us. We built it. Not the new hires, not the young people everyone likes to blame for the death of small talk. They don't run anything. The people who built this are my age and older. We're the ones with our hands on how the place actually operates. We trim the in-office days. We cut the team lunches, the off-sites, the unstructured hallway time, the standing Friday afternoon that had no agenda and didn't need one. All of it looked like overhead. All of it was the machinery that made shared context for free. We didn't lose that machinery. We decided we didn't need it. Then, surprised to find that people no longer knew what each other were doing, we replaced a deep system with a shallow one and called it a meeting cadence. I've done this. I've scheduled the standing meeting whose real job was to settle my own nerves that work was getting done. I'm not auditing anyone from above. I help build the thing that I'm examining. And AI won't fix this. A model still needs human directors to share a common purpose. Pointed at a team that can't say what it's for, and all you get is the wrong work faster. On the calendar, they are identical. Same room, same reoccurrence, same 7 people. But 2 very different meetings hide behind that one invite. and they do the opposite. The first asks a simple question: what's going on? It goes around the table, everyone reports status, we surface the problems, describe them, nod at them, assign someone to circle back, and adjourn. Next week, we'll do it again. Often, the same problems are described again by the same people. This is the status meeting. It processes the symptom. It exists because no one knows enough to move without the weekly realignment. So we realign every week. Forever. The second meeting asks a different question. What keeps making it so that no one knows what's going on? That meeting goes after the machine, the broken handoff, the unclear ownership, the missing context, the thing that generated the confusion in the first place. This is a system meeting. It does not process the problem. It changes whatever produced the problem. Here's the distinction worth stealing. Status meetings manage the machine. System meetings change the machine. My friend's calendar is 90% the first kind. Yours probably is too. And the reason no one can say what those meetings are for is that their real purpose isn't to solve anything. It's to relieve the pressure of not knowing. Just enough, 1 week at a time. There's a reason we keep choosing the first kind of meeting. The cheap truth is easier to say than the expensive one. This didn't work again. Let's fix it. Costs almost nothing. You can say it every week and still go home liked. Saying the system is broken and we have to rebuild it costs a great deal. It implicates decisions somebody made. Maybe somebody in that room. Maybe it's you. So the expensive truth goes unsaid or gets said once by the person in the room closest to the work to people who weren't built to hear it, and then it dies in minutes. That is the quiet part. Everybody already knows what's wrong. They will tell you at lunch, in the hallway, in the parking lot, on their way to their car. They just won't say it in a room where it could actually change something, because the room was built for the small truth, not the large one. So the meeting keeps running, and we keep mistaking it for broken. It isn't broken. It's working. It's just doing a different job than the one on the label. Every week, the status meeting soaks up a little confusion. We touched base. We re-explained the priority. Everyone nodded. That small relief is the whole problem. It bleeds off just enough pain that the underlying disconnection never gets bad enough to force a real fix. The meeting is a pressure valve on a system that needs the pressure to change. It does not solve the problem. It makes the problem survivable. And a survivable problem is a permanent one. The surveys say what your gut already knows. Roughly half of workers call their most recent meeting a waste of time. Half. And those meetings still run week after week because they keep delivering the hidden payload, the feeling that we are aligned, without any of the work that real alignment takes. There's a simple test for which meeting you're in. Ask what would have to become true for you to stop having it. The system meeting can answer that. It is trying to make itself unnecessary. It has a finish line. A status meeting has no answer because it was never built to end. It was built to recur. When Shopify took a hard look at this in 2023 and cut its recurring meetings of 3 people or more, about 12,000 meetings fell off calendars. The work, for the most part, kept happening. Most of the meetings weren't holding anything up. They were just holding their place. So we cancel everything, declare meeting bankruptcy, and feel righteous for a week? No, that is just another quick fix. And quick fixes on a deep problem are how we got here. Cut the meetings without rebuilding what they are for, and you only trade confusion for chaos. The real repair is to rebuild the thing we got rid of. Enough shared purpose that people can act well without constant alignment. The clearest model for it doesn't come from business. It comes from the military. When orders are vague or when communication breaks down in the middle of an operation, soldiers are not trained to freeze and wait. They are trained to act on the commander's intent. Army doctrine defines it as a clear, concise expression of the purpose of an operation and the end state you want, written so that subordinates can act to achieve the desired result. Without further orders, even when the operation does not unfold as planned. The whole point is to let people make good decisions in the dark, on their own authority, when no one is there to tell them what to do. Sit with how radical that is. It is a system built on purpose to remove the need for constant communication, the exact opposite of the company that meets 9 times a week because no one can move without a green light. And look at what that same doctrine names as its foundations: mutual trust, shared understanding. The Army worked out a long time ago that you cannot push decisions down onto people who don't trust each other and don't share a picture of the mission. The autonomy is downstream of the relationships, which means that the thing we cut off was not soft, optional morale stuff. It was load-bearing. Here's the clarifying part. This is a leadership job. Commander's intent is not something a frustrated employee can run from the bottom of the org chart. It has to be built by the same people who built the meeting dependence in the first place. That's the good news. The people responsible for the problem are holding the fix. No one is waiting on anyone else. Go back to my friend's calendar. Every block, hour after hour, day after day. Look at it now, and you don't see a busy executive. You see a bill. The weekly cost of context that got cut, paid in his hours and 12 other people's, charged automatically with no one ever choosing it again. That is the thing about a reoccurring meeting. It renews itself. It takes a decision to start one and no decision at all to keep it going. It survives for the same reason most of what we do survives. It is where momentum carried us. But again, momentum is not a reason. A meeting is supposed to point at a purpose. When it stops pointing, when no one in the room can say what it's for, the honest move is not to run it better or trim it to 25 minutes. The honest move is to stop, ask what it was supposed to serve, and go rebuild that. So look at your calendar this week. Really. Look. How many of those blocks are managing a problem you could actually solve? And what did you quit doing somewhere along the way that made all that managing necessary in the first place? Thank you for listening to this narrated edition of the article Drowning in Communication, Thirsting for Clarity, available on my Substack upon further examination at kielharvey.substack.com. My name is harder to spell than it sounds, so that's kielharvey.substack.com. If you're like me, you've been told a million times that you should read your Bible. To my ears, that falls into the same camp as you should go to the gym. And here's what I've noticed about both. I'm way more consistent when I've got a close friend going through it with me. That's exactly what Rock Reader was built for. You pick a reading plan, connect with a few people you trust, and journal through the Bible together, a day at a time. It's private by default, so nothing you write gets seen unless you decide to share it. And it's completely free. No subscription, no in-app purchases. You can download it now at rockreader.com or in the Google Play Store. Grab your buddy and dig into the Word together every day. If you're just getting started reading the Bible, or you've been a Christian a long time and your Bible's gotten dustier than you'd like, I put together a study workbook just for you called From the Source. It's at kielharveybooks.com and on Amazon. You go at your own pace, and it teaches you how to read and study the Bible so you can understand it for yourself. This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.